Hello everybody, welcome to Waterside Nursery. We're going to give you a guided tour today, we hope. This is all new to us, we haven't done this before, so bear with us. We've done a practice run, so we hope it's going to work okay. We are Waterside Nursery, we sell pond plants and moisture loving plants for the edge of your pond. And what we want to do today is walk you through the tunnel we're in now, what we do here, and on down through the nursery so that you can see how our plants are grown, literally here, and how they move on through the system until they leave off to the courier. So, first stage, here we are, sweltering a bit because it's quite a nice warm polytunnel today, in what we call the seed tunnel. Surprisingly enough, we grow seed or grow from seed here. So literally we can move from seed trays with the soil and the seed sprinkled on the top through within a few weeks to something that's germinating nicely. And if we just carry on looking down as we're moving around, you'll see trays of different varieties, all of which we've collected the seed on the nursery. So this is our seed, then we then sow on and bring through. Obviously different stages for different plants, even though they have maybe been sown at the same time. I mean, when you look at this one, it's basically ready to be moved on. So from this plug tray, we will get somebody probably next week to move this on, and we'll have a look at what happens to it next. So as we go on down, that last one was Myosotis, forget-me-not. This one's Veronica. I'm only mentioning the names because in a minute we'll see the next stage, and then you can tag along and see how they move on from the seed trays up through the system. Those are all wet plants. They're sitting in water, even at plug stage. Then we also do some moist ones from seed as well. This Ligularia comes really well from seed. And they're just kept moist because they are not a water plant. They are a moist plant. And then as we look through, these primulas are just moving on into their next stage. Again, moist plants. So what we're trying to sort of get across to you is that when we say we grow our own, we really, really do. Because then they move on into a 6 centimetre pot. No sign of root on that one yet, but that variety's not been potted long. Now the Veronica that I mentioned to you over on this side of the tunnel suddenly moves into being something with roots out of the bottom of the pot within just a few weeks. Drop him back in there carefully so he's not going to dry out. Hey, that was a moment, wasn't it? So as we go along, different varieties, ready, rooted, and now you see that one's ready to be moved on to its next stage. So out of the 6 centimetres and onto the next stage. Something just hiding under the shade there, newly potted and not overly happy in the heat. Are they, Danny, that one?
No.
So as you can see, the seed tunnel contains our trays. Abby's now moving backwards. Me and the seed tunnel in shot. So bear with us. Let's hope she doesn't trip. She's giggling. Left a bit. That's it. Sorry. Whoopsie. Now, you can tell it's our first go. But who cares? We're giving it a go. This is Waterside Nursery. We'll try anything once. So, we move on to, well, this is actually a different sort of propagation. This one's been done by division. And you can see we've got it in a mesh basket, because this one likes to have its roots coming out. You can tell that. Look at it, rooted on beautifully. And this one will be moved on to a larger basket, but already they're in their clay. So we use a clay compost always for pond plants. So you'll see it nice and brown. Clay compost isn't black. It's not a multi-purpose at all. So it should be brown and I'm almost going to say claggy to the touch, not loose. So it doesn't float up in the water as you put it in. So these have been divided and then they'll be moved on shortly. So we'll see some more of those later on once now that's a Butomus umbellatus. Quite high in the water there because the crown does like to be underwater. So I'm going to come on down a bit further. We're now into next tunnel on, which is taking plants that are moved into their final baskets in the most case. And they're coming through and starting to look ready to move out. If she spans across, you can start to see we've got different stages of plants coming through, so that the first batch she showed you will be moving out shortly. So it's a constant job of bringing them on and moving them out so that they're rooting and then getting adapted to the cold again for you. So just take one beside me. Yeah, that was the forget-me-not, the Myosotis that actually you saw in a seed tray not long ago. And not badly rooted. I would think after this Easter weekend, that'll be even more rooted and ready to go outside. So, am I going backwards now? Sorry. More shade. Oh, who knew? More shady protection into another group of plants. Let's see. Yeah, not ready yet. Maybe another week or so, Danny, before they're ready to go out. I'll have to span the camera around at some point so you can see Danny, who's actually technically behind the camera. Batch up there look nearly ready. That's the Cowther. We saw a seed tray of those earlier. And these ones don't look quite so good. So as we look down the line, you're starting to see, I hope, that's the idea, how we've taken them from seed through the seed tunnel and moved them forward through the nursery and in bigger pot sizes. And we're constantly trying to keep a succession so that the website will always have what are nice new plants to go out. We don't want anything getting too long and leggy, otherwise, unfortunately, the boxers don't like it and we have to cut it off. So keeping plants rolling to service the website is now much more what we aim to do, because unfortunately we no longer do shows and everything's going out in a box via the online shop. So succession is the name of the game. On the nursery we call it keeping all the plates spinning at once. So if we leave that side of the nursery for a moment, and this tunnel actually shares itself with the deeper water growers. So as we come on down this way, these have been outside actually, the water hawthorn, because these are flowering naturally outside now and in your pond. But we've just brought a few in because it saves a walk down to that area. But these sit down about 1 foot to 2 foot in the water. They've got a beautiful flower. Lovely smell too.
It does smell lovely.
Yeah, brilliant. And these leaves are out on the top surface, even when there's ice on the pond. And if they get knocked back a bit, they very, very quickly regrow. So this is the first surface cover plant in the pond from deeper down. Always beats the water lilies to it, which outside in your pond wouldn't be as far on as this, but naturally they are out in the pond now from March to May. So then if we look at some water lilies, you can see the difference as we span between the tunnels, that different colours are out at different times. This, for example, is a yellow, and it's much further behind than a pink one I'm going to show you in a minute. But just as an interest point, the yellow lilies often have these maroon markings on the leaf. And in this section, we've got pond water lilies. Now, these are in large 3-litre baskets with clay on top, ready rooted. So they'll go straight down to the deeper section of the pond. We don't keep them to their final depth in the nursery because unfortunately that makes them a bit leggy and it makes them difficult to pack and box again. But we have enough leaf growth there that you know that it's going to do okay. So that's the yellows, showing no sign of bud at all, even when they have been in for a little bit of time, probably a couple of weeks now. But if we come down here, this particular variety, which is Mrs. Richmond, given 2 weeks of warmth in the tunnel, is already showing some flower and leaf and bud. So just shows you the difference of different colours, really. That was the sort of point I was hoping you'd get from that one.
Lovely variety.
Yeah, no, she's really bright. Nice red leaf too. So if your pond isn't that big and you don't think you can handle a leaf sort of 2-3 inches in size, we've also got some dwarfs in this area that don't need quite as much water over the top of the basket. What we got here? Well, you can instantly tell it's another one with a slight yellowy tone because there's our maroon markings again. And this one's Poor Harriet, which is actually apricot in colour. So that's a dwarf, and that lives in a 1-litre basket. Again, the clay compost look, all really well rooted. And that's the sort of thing that you'd put in a pond, maybe of about 1 to 2 metres of surface area with about 6-8 inches of water over the top of the basket. Put the leaf back the right way up, otherwise it can't breathe. There we go. So that one was ready rooted. Perry's Baby Red. Again, trying to show you the stages we go through. That one's, oh, it's trying, but it's very young and it's not really rooted. That one won't be going out this year, but it's here. It's attempting to flower vaguely, but by next year it'll be much stronger. The leaf will be slightly bigger, and we'll get it rooted for you before it goes out. So those are dwarfs. Now I probably have to walk backwards now, do I?
Sorry.
There's a bit of a game. Right, okay, so we've gone from pond water lilies, big depth, to dwarf lilies, that sort of amount of water over the top, and into miniatures. Let's find a little hellbowler. That's the sort of thing that you might receive now as a miniature helvola called a pygmy water lily. And they really, really are. Again, that's the little yellow one. Now, this one's a bit more mature. It's the little white one. Actually, you probably aren't getting scale very well because I know Danny's zooming in. Let's lift that one. And what happens if we drop that in there, Danny? Can we see the comparison between the two?
Oh, yes, you can see the difference in size there.
Literally, the pygmy leaf is about 1 inch across. That's that one. And this one's one of our bigger pond water lily leaves. And straight away, I mean, this pygmy will never take over a pond. It'll probably never get bigger than a side plate. And this Gladstoniana leaf here could be probably side plate size on its own, never mind the scale of the whole plant. So maybe that actually gives quite a nice comparison of scale, because it's all very well lifting things individually, but it doesn't really give an idea of the difference, the range.
Very varied sizes.
Yeah, because the point is, of course, that you put him in the shallower water again. He can't go in that big tank. Just make sure the leaf is all floating the right way and sitting on the top of the water. Yeah, so just trying to show you, you know, as much as we can about the different things that that we have available, really, and the different ways that we keep them in the nursery. Because as hello, she's moving. As we move around, you'll see that we try and keep the plants as much as possible in the sort of similar conditions to how they will be when they go to you. So as we move on, then we're leaving the water lilies behind us again, and we've come outside. You'll realise we've got a second photo bombed by 2 butterflies.
Little butterflies.
You realise we've got a second tunnel behind us with more moist plants coming on in the centre and more 11 centimetres coming through as well. So then outside here are all the troughs then that we pick from. And these are where we walk on any occasion every morning when the early team walks in at sort of somewhere like 7:30 in the morning, and they start to pick your order for you. So they're picking from outside here and choosing plants that are ready to go, which are labelled up with a little tag so they know where to pick from. And we start to move out the plants that have been adapted to the cold since they've come out of the tunnels, because it's all very well as sort of encouraging them to root, but before they go to you, we then get them ready to face the outside world and the cold, which we know recently has suddenly thrown frosts on us, for example. So this is an early flower. Excuse me. Some have already flowered, and we're already saving some for seed, so that you know, continuity of life goes on. We'll collect the seed from these and then start to sow them again at the right time, so that we get our succession of planting coming on. So these ones, you can see a few of these inside. These ones we keep rolling over quite clearly. Again, you saw this one inside. This was the butamus. And what have we got here? That's the next one. Just starting to move in It's rooted down, it's adapted. A little bit of frost damage there when it got caught, but it's done that now, so it should be fine. So as we move on, what else do I need to think about sowing? Those were both in 11 centimetre baskets because they were upright plants. So they need a bit of a bigger basket in order to support themselves in terms of weight at the bottom. The little plants that grow out horizontally, they need to have less height and more sort of horizontal growth. They're in the shallower pots, the 9 centimetres. We've got some here. Again, what am I picking? Nicely rooted out. Again, you saw that at seed stage and at ready, just about ready to come out. So you can start to see, hopefully, the succession of things through the journey that we've got. And as we sort of look around us, we realise that the troughs constantly refilled. Moving. Side. Then, of course, onto dispatch. It actually takes a team of 12 to bring everything through the system, as we sort of say, from people that seed, those that move the plants on, those that move the plants physically out of the tunnels, through all different sorts of divisions as well, because that's a different way, different plants. Some plants like division rather than seed. So we're doing that too. So 12, moving things around to bring the plants to this point. And then, of course, part of that team is the dispatch area where they amalgamate all the picked items from different sections of the nursery, wrap them, box them, get them suitably prepared so that our wet plants go out in a dry cardboard box and the cardboard box stays dry.
It's always a good finish.
Oh, yeah. Something other nurseries don't have to think about, but we did have to work out how to get wet plants to you, still damp, without obviously damaging the box, which makes it collapse in a mushy heap. So every part of this chain, from grower to boxer, is important. And we like to think we've got a fairly unique team out there that can put this together on a daily and weekly basis. So, short of going into the dispatch area to box and wrap, which is important, but I think may need to form part of another video at some point because we're fast running out of time. I hope you've enjoyed our sort of tour around, and I hope perhaps I've been able to give you an insight of how we do it and some of the plants that you can find on the website. And you know, please look, please follow us, please do all these new social media things that I talk about, but gradually getting used to dealing with. Always have somebody under 30 beside me just to make sure I can get a handle on it. All right, I think that's just about it from us. So thank you for listening. Hope you stayed with us all the way through this this guided tour, and we'll say goodbye from Waterside Nursery.